Okay, welcome back to our late night as we continue to educate and also create awareness and continue to promote reasons why Nigeria is a failed state. Kí ni wọ́n pè ní failed state? These are part of what I'm going to be discussing tonight. As you are coming into the broadcast, please do share the program and invite others to do so as well. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ wa níbikíbi tí ẹ bá ti ń láǹfààní àti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí ìkànnì wa tí à ń pè ní Koikimedia, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ṣe wà níbí báyìí, a máa ń wo ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ in tí a fi ń sọ pé Nigeria is a failed state àti pé kí ló ń pè ní failed state. Tá bá sọ pé ìlú tí kò ṣiṣẹ́, how do you recognize a failed state? What are the indices tó máa indicate ìlú tó ti fail? In tí a fẹ́ gbéyẹ̀wò ní àṣálẹ́ nìyẹn. So bí ẹ ṣe ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa, ẹ bá wa kọ́kọ́ máa gbọ́ wọlé share button. Mo kí àwọn back end staff wa tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ round the clock. Mo kí gbogbo wa pé a very good evening and welcome into the broadcast. A very good evening and welcome. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ ti ṣe mọ̀ wá, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo wò, this platform is mainly to educate and prepare millions of Nigerians, whether they accept or agree or disagree, that Nigeria is a failed state and not even anybody can rescue it apart from a dissolution. But there are many arguments among many Nigerians that there is still hope for Nigeria. That I disagree with. But we talk with facts on this platform and we educate people using all the evidence to point out that when a country failed, nothing good will come out of it. So as we will be using tonight to also do exactly what we have done in the past by campaigning rigorously and explaining to many Nigerians why Nigeria was created and while it is time that we allow Nigeria to dissolve. So please share the program as you are coming in. Today is the 14th day of May, 2025. It's coming up to 29 minutes past midnight from our studio where we are broadcasting from. Nigeria is not likely to work. It does not matter whether you bring somebody from the southwest to become the president, whether you bring somebody from the southeast or the north or the middle belt. When a country is failed, it has nothing that can be done than to allow it to be dissolved. And that is exactly what I'll be explaining in the broadcast tonight. As our platforms are being prepared to bring in viewers, listeners, to come and also listen tonight on what do we mean when a country failed. Does that mean that the country has the chance to survive? Is it worth talking about 2027, knowing fully well that the insecurity in the land, the government can no longer fix it. And this is the reason why I'll be explaining that again in the broadcast tonight. President Bola Tinubu and Shetima failed in the security, just like Buhari did as well. There's no difference between the PDP of 16 years and the APC that have done 10 years already, and they've been unable to fix the problems that many indigenous people have complained about. From the killings in the north to Middle Belt in Plateau State, from the killings in Enugu to Anambra to Katsina, from the killings in Ondo State, from the killings across every part of Nigeria, the indicator now says, for the interest of everyone, Nigeria needs now to be divided. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing this morning. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, popularly known as Koikimedia. We bring it closer to your doorsteps. We enlighten you, and we allow you to judge whether it is still worth talking about an election that has failed since 1960, when Britain put together what is known as Nigeria today. The purpose of putting Nigeria together failed, and it is not likely to be fixed by anyone apart from a full, total disintegration of the country. So as I prepare you tonight, as I get you ready for the program, we go with the Yoruba anthem that says, Iṣẹ́ wa fúnlẹ̀ wa, forílẹ̀ ìbí wa, kágbéga, kágbéga, kágbéga fálérí. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé bá ti bẹ̀rù làbọ̀ mọ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ní kẹ́ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Ìtẹ̀síwájú fọ́pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde, bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. I say good evening once again and welcome to the live transmission. It's coming up to 33 minutes past midnight on the 14th day of the month of May 2025 from the Koikimedia studio, where we continue to educate and tell many Nigerians that no one can rescue Nigeria with the current situation as it stands today. Many of you still disagree, hoping that a miracle will bring peace back to Nigeria, that there will be unity among all Nigerians, and we can forge ahead to maintain strong ties and relationships. There has been many analyses on Nigeria from 60 years till date, and it has not brought unity, love among us because we are indigenous people. What do we understand by the word indigenous people? I'll be explaining that tonight. Is it possible to have many nations in one country and expect it to function as a country? Or are we all living in denial? Is it not the right time to tell ourselves the truth and nothing but the truth, that we are not likely to get anything out of Nigeria even if we exist for another 4 years? The country failed, not because of you, because the agenda that was forced on us by Britain was for a purpose. And that purpose has now expired, and we need to let go Nigeria so that we can build many things that will work for us as Yoruba people, the Igbo people, the Hausa, the Ijaws. But should we continue to live in denial and force ourselves to live together, they are likely to be a country that has never worked, where it's sitting on a keg of gunpowder. The topic tonight is clear, and I want you to take a time and look at the topic that I'll be treating tonight. We can't continue to believe that Nigeria will ever work. Are you still a one Nigerian that believe that the country will likely work after President Tinubu or while Tinubu is still in office? The problem we are facing is bigger than Tinubu and Shetima, just like it was bigger when Buhari was in power. The agenda has been clear that we are now already invaded, and there is no doubt about it. There are many videos out there that has already indicate that the military is no longer the one that you know from 1960, because we are now infiltrated by Fulani jihadis. We have many different terrorist organizations that are operating freely and killing innocent Yoruba, Igbos, Middle Belt, Ijaw that are currently in the military and Hausas. The Nigerian government can no longer take charge. A video was sent to me, even though we knew about the news some few days ago, but I've now finally watched the video. You can check the video out on my Twitter handle, which is Koikimedia, or X handle, which is what it's called today. And you will now understand, while under the leadership of Professor Adebanji Akitoye, stated clearly that we are not likely to regain whatever you want in Nigeria, and we should allow it to dissolve freely. Rather than continue to push the agenda for another election in the country, as it has been done ever since the independence up to 1999 to date, election has not yet given us what we want. Rather, it has enriched many individuals, while 60 million Yoruba people continue to live in abject poverty. Like I said, if you have the privilege to go down to my Twitter handle, you will find that we've posted a couple of videos. Some of them are very graphic, of the killings that has taken place in Nigeria for the last 20 years. We knew that when the former President Muhammadu Buhari came to power, he decided to open the door for more Fulani jihadis to invade Nigeria. And that has taken place for quite a lot of time. No one will be able to stop this agenda apart from me and you. I also watched a video. We've been telling many Nigerians that the longer we stay in Nigeria, we are likely to be overrun very soon. Right in front of me is a video of the Fulani terrorists where an helicopter has just dropped weapons and other stuff. The helicopter is taking off while the recording is taking place. The question is, who is behind all these atrocity against the indigenous people? How do we have a government that told us that they can protect us, yet an helicopter has landed somewhere within Nigerian territory, delivering weapons and other logistics to Fulani terrorists that will eventually be used to kill innocent Nigeria? But since many Nigerians are praying to God that Nigeria should be rescued rather than Nigeria to be dissolved, it means that many Nigerians are still living in denial. That is one out of many videos that we have posted in the last few hours. Also, we've pulled up again a couple of videos in the past where Fulani terrorists blocked the highway and continue to do exactly what they do best: kidnap, killings, and many other atrocities. These are young boys that are not even 25 years old. The question is, what is the agenda? The agenda is clear: to invade every part of Nigeria and make sure they can force every one of us into exactly what we don't want to be. As a Nigerian, are you still living in denial? Or have you now accepted the truth, and nothing but the truth, that Nigeria is a failed state? Nigeria has been a failed state because when Britain decided to force marriage indigenous people in 1914, not much consultation was done. And the reason that we are facing today is because Britain believed that by joining people that do not have the same culture, same language, do not have same ideology, and so tonight, I'm asking again, do you still want to keep one Nigeria, or do you now accept that this country failed long time ago? My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, and I welcome you once again to our live transmission as we continue to educate Nigerians from every part of the country that we should face our reality and accept fate, that there is a country that was never meant to be, as it has now indicated that Britain knew that there will be calamity, there will be chaos, yet they forged ahead to force every one of us to live together, knowing fully well that that will not work. How do we identify a failed state? Nigeria, of many countries around the world, that is a failed state. Let's look at it from here. The idea that Nigeria is a failed state is a common one, in particular in many discussions that the country governance, security, and overall stability. If you live in a country where security is no longer guaranteed, that country is a failed state. If you live in a country where you don't have good governance, that country becomes a failed state. If you live in a country where overall stability, as many of you live in fear of not just Fulani, but other things that worried you on a daily basis, from the harassment from the police, from the kidnapping, from welfare, from healthcare, education. I saw a couple of parents that bombarded the JAM office, query the result of their children. That shows that Nigeria is a failed state. If Nigeria wasn't a failed state, every student should be allowed to conduct an exam, or to do an exam rather, and be allowed to give in the result that is meant and due for them. But we know what happens when exams are conducted: malpractice, rigging, just like elections that have been rigged since 1999 till date. So when many Nigerians are praying that we should have a good leader that will give us the kind of country that we want, what they forgot to understand that there was never meant to be a country called Nigeria, because Nigeria was just an experiment that has now expired, and we need to now allow it to be taken out of the picture so that we can all look forward to a better future. For since there is still argument among different parts of Nigeria that the PDP will bring back glory to Nigeria, even though PDP was as useless for 16 years. The APC is running the 10th year, and yet thousands and thousands of people today, in their millions, are still struggling. Let me give us some of those indicators But before I give you the indicator, while the term failed state is not formally defined, there are many things that you can use to define a failed state. Your road network indicates that Nigeria is a failed state. Dizzy Man 123 just says the country is going in the wrong direction because we are all different people. Good evening, Ama Uche, Yemi Fatuki, and the rest of you that have joined us. Please share the program. And this program is fully going to be 80% in English because of my audience target across the globe. We have many people that have heard about Nigeria, but they might not know that Nigeria is a failed state, and my job is to tell them that the country is a failed state due to the fact that the country was forced to be a country that has many nations like Biafra Nation, Oduduwa Nation, Hausa Nation, Ijaw Nation, Kanuri Nation. Nigeria should have had many countries that would have done very well with the GDP, economy, with the security, good stability. But due to the fact that Lugard, that was working as a governor administrator for the British colony as at the time, decided with some of his cronies that they should forge ahead and force every one of us to maintain a name called Nigeria. Nigeria remained a crime scene, and so it is still a crime scene. Once again, a very good evening and welcome. Please share the program and invite others to do so as well. If this is your first time of joining me, if this is your first time of participating to listen to us, we welcome you. And if you are a returnee, we say good evening and welcome to the Koikimedia network. Like I said earlier, we are coming up to 1 a.m. at the 14th of May 2025 as we go towards half of the month of May. We're talking about a failed state. And Nigeria being a failed state means it can no longer perform the function and the responsibility for the citizen. So if you're still one of those that believe that the function of a government, whether it's this present government, the previous government, or the one that you might be thinking of, should you continue to believe that country called Nigeria will work, my job tonight is to give you all the indicators of a potential Nigeria that is struggling since 1914, 46 years before independence and 65 years after independence, making a total 100 years of a failed state by Britain that knew very well that this day would happen, yet they went ahead and forged a country on our behalf. Britain decided to form a country, and that country is called Nigeria. But right in Nigeria, we have the Yoruba people, we have the Igbo people, the Hausa, the Kanuri, the Tiv, the Ijaws, and bring them into one of them, whatever name. The term failed state has many different meanings. I'll be telling you what it means according to a lot of information that we have for you tonight. Sit back and let's enjoy it.
Failed state.
How do you indicate a failed state?
Failed state.
Should you hear the word
failed state?
A state whose political or economic system has become so weak that the government is no longer in control. Do you believe that President Bola Tinubu and the Vice President Shetima are still in control of Nigeria? The question is meant for you to answer. Do you think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in control when the military barracks are invaded on a daily basis by Mahmouda terrorists, Boko Haram terrorists, ISIS, ISWAP, Nigeria has become a failed state because the federal government is no longer in control of the country. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, and I welcome you to my channel as I educate you on the reason why self-determination is the only solution, not leadership, because we are different people, different ideology, and we cannot live together as a one country. Let's go a little bit deeper. Is it possible to turn around Nigeria to come out of a failed state? Labeling Nigeria as a failed state is similar to talking about Somalia and Liberia. These are also failed states. When we talk about failed state, we would have to talk about Somalia and Liberia. What does "we are a failed state" mean? If I say failed state, what does it mean? Generally, the term failed state implies on a sovereign nation, but we know that Nigeria is not a sovereign nation, and that is why it is very difficult to call it a country. Because to know what a sovereign nation means is that you would have to have people that speak the same language, have the same culture, one people. But according to Professor Adebanji Akitoye, has made it known to us that we, the Yoruba people, are not the same with the Igbos and the Hausas. The Hausa does not understand my language, neither does the Igbo understand the language. They can learn it, just like you learn German, Turkish, French, of whatever other language that you learn. But when people try to justify a country called Nigeria, the question is, what is the meaning of Nigeria? The word Nigeria was coined together in 1914, 1st of January 1914. And as many Nigerians believe that we are Nigerians, they forgot to understand that the Yoruba has been in existence as far back as thousands of years ago. So again, let's go back. Generally, the term failed state implies that a sovereign nation state has lost two primary ability. Very key, important word. Nigeria has lost not just two primary ability, but many ability to be able to sustain 200 million people. We don't have to be as big as that, because we have many countries that are very good and running under each of their government, and they are not up to the population of Nigeria. Yet, population of Nigeria continue to be used to deceive Nigerians that we are the giant of Africa, even though we know that is a false information. So when we talk about the primary ability, the ability to maintain authority, President Bola Tinubu has not been able to maintain the authority, just like Buhari did not do the same as well. We know the agenda. The authority over his people. Many Nigerians tonight have gone to bed without having something to eat. That is the primary responsibility of the federal government. The primary responsibility of the federal government is to maintain law and order, but we know in Nigeria today, law and order has become thrown out of the box as military barracks continue to be invaded continuously. Crime has now become one of the major parts of Nigeria today. The federal government under President Bola Tinubu, just like the previous government from Buhari to Jonathan, to Yaradua, to Obasanjo, have not been able to protect its own borders. If you cannot protect your border, you might as well forget that you have a country. So I pity many of you Nigerians, many of you that still disagree with the fact that you have a very porous border. And what do we understand by the word porous border? The word porous border means a lot, but since many of you continue to argue, A porous border is referred to a border that is not effectively controlled or secure. The Nigerian border has been lost for a very long time, and it's not likely for us to retain it back should we remain in this contraction called Nigeria. A porous border refers to a border that is not effectively controlled or secured, allowing relatively easy movement of people, goods, or information across it. Tonight, as I speak to you, many people have been kidnapped due to the fact that we have a porous border. The border in the north have been left open, while the border in the southwest continue to be locked up so that many people cannot bring in goods that would have been benefiting the people in the southwest. President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, went ahead and told all Fulanis across Africa that they now have a home. They can come to Nigeria without any visa. They can come through the borders without coming through the air, which would have been where many of you do not know the amount of Fulani that have invaded Nigeria tonight. We've seen attacks across many parts of Nigeria. Is because we have a porous border. And when you have a porous border, there is an agenda, and that agenda is to Islamize Nigeria and make sure that every part of Nigeria will have to obey the Fulani terrorist agenda. It is characterized by the presence of numerous unofficial crossings. When people are coming into your country and they are not stamped, we don't know them, they are not identifiable, you are likely to become a victim of kidnap, a victim of fake drugs, a victim of many things that might eventually kill you as Nigerians. So it is entirely up to every one of us. We have the opportunity again. We told you that we don't need an election. Election is not going to approve a good border. Tinubu has been in power for 2 years plus, and yet he has still not been able to shut down the porous border. You know why? Because he's not in charge. And that is why Nigeria is a failed state. The broadcast tonight is going to be in English because of my target audience. When there is a lack of strong security measures leading to high likelihood of unauthorized entry and exit, that is why tonight the Boko Haram continue to perpetrate crime across every part of Nigeria. And as we continue to tell Nigerians that the option is still available, this is the time for us to pull down the structure and exit. Many continue to defend this for their own selfish interests alone, but not the interests of 60 million Yoruba people. Daily Post 9 hours ago, diaspora groups demand the sack of Chief of Army Staff over adoption of soldiers in Borno State. 2 days ago, Boko Haram adopt Nigerian soldier in Borno State. A video that I watched, if you have been part of the Koikimedia WhatsApp group, you will have seen the video. Soldiers, I'm talking about the Nigerian military men, fold hands and legs and slaughtered like chicken. The video is very gruesome. It's about 5 minutes. It shows the audacity, the capability of these terrorists now to invade the military barracks. When they invade the military barracks, the question is, are you likely not to be invaded in your homes, as we saw in our some few years back when St. Francis Catholic Church was attacked? As we saw, many of our kings have been attacked and killed. We lost at least about 5 kings to terrorist attack in the southwest. As the attacks continue across every part of Nigeria, the question then is, when is this likely to stop? The insecurity continues to be not just the only threat that many indigenous people are facing, but one of the biggest thefts that Britain knew very well that we will be able to struggle if we do not get back our right for our identity. Britain took our identity, and that is why we are known as Nigeria rather than the people that they met when they came into those lands many, many years back. Let's go back to the failed state as we continue to look into it. Again, a sovereign nation. A failed state implies a sovereign nation that has lost primary ability, the ability to maintain authority over its own people and its territory, and the ability to protect its own national borders. Let's look at some of the studies that we have according to the information right in front of us. Failed state. What is a failed state with a question mark? A failed state is a country like Nigeria that has lost control of itself. Are you still defending Nigeria due to your own politician, or have you now accepted the fact that the country failed? Many of you know the truth, but you refuse to accept the truth and allow the country to dissolve. Breaking away is not a crime, and it's not going to bring nothing more than a peaceful country after we break away from the current one. A failed state like Nigeria has lost control of itself due to the number of factors. What are the factors? I'm going to be explaining that to you in the course of this program tonight. 2 minutes past 12, 2 past 1 midnight, 14th of May, 2025. When you look at the current political instability in Nigeria today, you will realize that the country can no longer maintain the kind of politicians that will give you a good country. It does not matter whether they are finding themselves cross-carpeting, whether it is the PDP moving to the SDP, whether it is ABGA that has turned into APC tonight. The question is, all these political parties remain criminals for their own selfish gain without considering the indigenous people. There are likely to be a couple of civil unrest in Nigeria as it has been before. We saw the NSAS. You might think that those that created the NSAS have gone to sleep. They are just waiting for the next trigger and they'll be out again. We've seen that many Nigerians that should speak on behalf of Nigerians have gone quiet. When the petrol was 65 naira, many people came out, pastors, civil rights people, and many others. But today, the petrol goes into almost 1,250 naira, or about, if it's not a black market, probably about 950 naira per liter. Yet, no protest by the same pastors, the GO, and many others, because every single one of them have compromised the indigenous people. There's also lack of governance. Tinubu promised everything, but we know from day one that it cannot has what it takes to give you a good governance. The government doesn't want to be criticized, no freedom of speech, no freedom of press, intimidation left and right. Innocent Nigerians are languishing in many prisons across the country without a good justice system to determine whether they are criminals that needs to be punished or they've just been kept in the prison and thrown the key away, and many of them struggle and languishing while the criminal politicians continue to live in eyebrow area across Abuja, from Yaya Bello, a criminal, to Wike, a criminal, to Saraki, a criminal, to Ibukwamosu, a criminal. Many of them are criminals that have used the resources of indigenous people to enrich themselves and their cronies and their allies. If many of you are expecting good governance in Nigeria, you are likely to die before you achieve that good governance. because nobody's going to give you a good governance among any of these criminal politicians. The term failed state is not an official term used in international law, and it does not necessarily imply that the government has collapsed completely. But in the case of Nigeria, if there's another word for collapse, Nigeria collapsed a very long time ago. Till date, nobody has apologized to what happened during the 1967 Civil War, as many innocent people were killed. Many innocent Nigerians have died in the hands of the security operatives. You can ask the El Zakizaki and his children that got caught up, and the wife, because the chief of army staff was passing through during one of their own movements somewhere in Zaria, I believe. Collapse is part of what has played out in Nigeria, but we have been told lies by Britain. And I can look at it tonight that Britain continued to be a place that politicians run to promote their evil agenda. As we know tonight, I can confirm that 3 ministers are currently en route to London. And you know why? Why they're going to London? Just to promote this failed government of Tinubu. I'm not sure to who. So United Kingdom, as we know, has always been the backing for Nigeria for a very long time, because they created the business center. A very good evening to my beautiful mother. Wike, Umahi, and others have traveled to London. Do you understand that? To unveil Tinubu's achievements. When I tell many Nigerians, especially the Yorubas, that UK is not ready to allow Nigeria to be divided, another evidence is coming on this platform this morning. Wike, the FCT minister, Umahi, and others have not gone to Ogun State to tell us the achievement of Tinubu in the last 2 years. They've not gone to Rivers State. They've not gone to Sokoto. They've decided not to go to Oyo State, Lagos, Benin. They've not decided to go to Anambra. They've not decided to go to Kwara, Kogi State. But they've decided to travel on a 6-hour flight, leaving the sovereign country called Nigeria that has collapsed, to tell us about the achievement of President Tinubu and also Shettima in London. I don't know how you feel about that. Why does it have to be London? Let me take you back a little bit. Before the election, we saw all the politicians travel to Chatham House to tell their Lord what they would do for Nigerians, even though we know they are not going to do anything. It has always been the norm that anyone that wants to be the president of this fake collapsed country needs to travel to United Kingdom and present themselves in front of the Chatham House. So let's take a look at this article from the Punch newspaper this morning. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nelson Wike, and his counterpart in the Ministry of Works, David Umahi, and other ministers will present their ministry success stories at an international press conference in London. They've traveled out of Nigeria and called press in the UK so that they can tell them who actually are they delivering the achievement for. Is it the Nigerians in the United Kingdom? I believe Nigerians at home would like to know the achievement of this failed country under the current leadership, President Tinubu and Shettima. But rather, they've decided to travel far and wide to London and call all the press in a nice cozy hotel somewhere in Park Lane. and then tell Nigerians in the UK that we should please give them another chance, just as many Nigerians in the UK endorsed and supported this failed government. We told them then, but we were labeled and called all kind of names. But 2 years down the line, don't be deceived that there are still Nigerians in the UK that will still love to support this government, even though they are not returning back home to live in Nigeria. Unbelievable. Speaking at the press conference in Abuja, that press conference is not good enough, so they prefer to take their press conference to London and tell the world the achievement of a failed Tinubu's government and Shetima in the last 2 years, so that they can beg Nigerians again to allow Tinubu to come back in 2027. Imagine there is still 2 years to the end of this government. Already, they have started the campaign for 2027. So that shows that governance have stopped in 2025. Speaking at the press conference in Abuja on Tuesday, the project internal coordinator of the President Bola Tinubu Midterm Legacy Project Review Committee, Bode Adeyemi, said the ministers and the heads of department and agency will use the opportunity to showcase the achievement of a failed legacy project of Tinubu administration in the last 2 years. He stated that the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, the Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, many Nigerians can have access to what we call petrol. Whether to buy for your Abetapas, my neighbor, many Nigerians have abandoned their vehicle because they can no longer afford to have those vehicles on the roads. Benga Komolafe, the managing director of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, many Nigerians do not have access to good quality housing in the last 60 years. Many of them are still living in an accommodation that does not have the right basic facilities in the apartment. Well, did I say apartment? Most of them live in what they call slap me, I slap you. Usman Osidi, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Services, Zacius Adedeji, and several others are going to travel from Abuja to London and present the achievement of a failed government. A government that cannot protect the border, while Benin Republic have decided to shut the border between Nigeria due to the invasion of the Fulani Mahmuda, another new terrorist from Kwara coming straight into Benin Republic. Adeyemi, the president of Tinubu consolidation mandate, added that the press conference and the official launch of a compendium and website of legacy project that the current administration has executed in the last 2 years will be held on Friday, June 27, 2025. He said President Bola Tinubu's government has made unprecedented achievement. If you believe that, I will leave that for you to think about it. On that 24-month of President Tinubu's failed administration, despite all the distractions and global economic situation, we have painstakingly taken detailed records of all the major achievements of this administration. My question to you, the average Nigerian that are watching me in every part of Nigeria is, are you still able to have 3 square meals? Can you get your children to school? Are you secure by traveling across every part of Nigeria? Do you have the constant 24 hours electricity? How is your business running, whether it's a small scale or the big scale businesses? How is life generally with you in Nigeria in the last 2 years? Do you think that Nigeria is a failed state, or do you still accept that it is time for Nigeria to dissolve? My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI once again, and I welcome you to the broadcast. All the projects have been put together as a compendium, and this will be presented in London and also in a website that will be launched June 27, 2025. Even though I can launch a website tonight and it can be up and running by first thing tomorrow morning. But when you have a government that has failed, they take all kind of excuses to take your mind out of the reality. The reality is that Nigeria can no longer prosper, and the indigenous people are now asking for the right for the country to be dissolved peacefully without a bloodshed. Earlier at the meeting of the organized team with the political affairs head of the British High Commission, that is what they're good at. The British High Commission continue to walk quietly, the snake under the green grass. You might not see them, but they're making sure that their project Nigeria can still sustain for the next 50 years, according to David Lammy. So whenever you look at Nigeria, you will not look too far away before you find the British High Commission that operate on behalf of the king and those that runs from Britain. They continue to tell you lies by giving you scholarship and probably give one or two people visa to migrate and japa to United Kingdom. So all this is also happening on the basis that the British High Commission is behind this execution as well, that Nigeria will be presented to London of the failed achievement of Tinubu, when many children have died because of the malnutrition, according to the World Bank. When many of you say that Nigeria is not currently at war, the question then is, why do we have Nigeria where many children goes into hunger tonight? Even countries that is currently at a full-blown war, the child hunger is a serious problem, and it has always been so in Nigeria. In Nigeria, a significant number of children are now facing hunger and malnutrition due to various factors. Tinubu government doesn't want to talk about this. All those that are still living in the IDP camps have been left to survive on their own. Many people have left their cities and their villages as terrorists continue to forge ahead, since the military do not have the capacity to stop them. There are many factors like conflict, but since many Nigerians say we are not at war, the question then is, why do we have millions of innocent children in malnutrition tonight? Climate change, economic instability, specifically, close to 20 to 30 million children are experiencing severe food poverty in Nigeria, making up to 50% more likely to suffer from wasting a life-threatening form of malnutrition, according to UNICEF report that 1 out of 3 children under 5 are experiencing severe food poverty. I hope Tinubu's government will be presenting this in London when Wiki and others will be telling those press what Tinubu has achieved in the last 24 months. Let's go further. Last year, November 12, 2023, United Nations News reported that 33 million Nigerians could face hunger next year. So that means the number continues to grow on a daily basis, since we don't have what it takes to stop it. 12th of November 2024, according to the United Nations News, the Global Perspective Human Story, the figure represents a sharp increase from 25 million who need assistance today, the World Food Programme said in a joint statement alongside the Food and Agriculture Organization. Many farmers have abandoned farming, have turned to riding Okada in Yoruba land and other part of Nigeria. Many lands have become untilted since the Fulanis have invaded farmers and continue to kill them in many parts of Nigeria. Never before have there been so many people in Nigeria without food. It's unbelievable. I hope Tinubu's and those traveling to London will present these when they arrive in London. But we know they're not going to present it. We know what the government is going to do, continue to deceive Nigerians that all is well, even though all is not well in this contraction failed country called Nigeria. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. As I continue to welcome you into the broadcast, please share the program, invite others so that we can learn something that you probably have never been told before about Nigeria. Nigeria will not work and is not likely to work, so there's no point trying to waste your time and energy and effort on a country that has failed. Let's go further. Again, never before have there been so many people in Nigeria without a food. That is a very sad situation, but many people pray that we would have the right leader that will give us a country that will then eventually allow many Nigerians to have 3 square meals. 1:21 a.m., 14th of May 2025, we're still on the Koikimedia network as we continue to tell Yoruba people and others indigenous people the reason why it is time now to allow Nigeria to be dissolved. If otherwise, many millions of children will suffer avert potential disaster. I believe that is already where we are tonight in Nigeria. Last year, they were warning Nigerian government to avert potential disaster, but right now it is too late because we are currently inside that disaster. And the longer we stay more in Nigeria, the more it might become triple disaster. So if you're still one of those that continue to argue blindly to save Nigeria while we are talking about dissolution, I hope you know that disaster is no longer something that cannot be averted because we are already inside that disaster. A recent assessment found that immediate support is needed to avert a potential food and nutrition disaster in the face of triple-digit increase in food prices, the aftermath of devastating floods and Fulani attacks, 15 years of insurgency in the Northeast, 15 years non-stop has created what we are experiencing today, since no government wanted to stop the attacks from the terrorists. Like I've told you, open borders, porous borders, all these have now amounted to many of our children in Yoruba land going to bed without a food. Nigeria faces a monument hunger crisis in the second half of 2025, and we are getting closer to the second half of 2025. When this article came out last year, November, some might say it is still far away, but we are currently in May, which is the 5th month of the year. And if they say the second half, that means next month it will be worse. And I hope every one of you is prepared for such. Nigeria faces a monument hunger crisis in the second half of June 2025, particularly in the northeast state of Borno State. The same Borno State continues to be attacked on a daily basis. Is there an agenda? Is there a mission? Why continuous attack in Borno State? Let's look at what has been happening in Borno State. Like I told you earlier, let's rewind it back. Sahara Reporter, 2 days ago, Boko Haram adopt Nigerian soldier in Borno State. The same Borno State that the United Nations is warning us that there will be more food hunger because for 15 good years, the government failed to protect that particular region. The diaspora are now asking that the Chief of Defense Staff needs to be sacked due to the adoption of soldiers in Borno State. This day newspaper 9 hours ago. Osun Defender 6 days ago, insecurity. Boko Haram gunned down the army captain in Borno State. Why not deploy every resources if we have a serious government like Tinubu have told us and Shetima? Because while Shetima will be looking into the security, Tinubu will be looking into the failed economy. Two of them as useless as tissue paper. And tonight, we continue to tell Yoruba people it is time to exit this contraction. If otherwise, more people will die. I have told you that people will die, but you refuse to accept it because when we say people will die, it seems that we are costing the country. TV 360 Nigeria, Army captain, this was 6 days ago, Army captain, soldiers killed in Boko Haram attack in Borno State. And United Nations is telling us last year that Nigeria faces a monument hunger crisis in the second half of June 2025, particularly in the northeast state of Borno. If we have a serious government, as we have been told, if we have a government that is dedicated to the lives of its people, if we have a government that wants to make sure that this report that was coming last year from the United Nations will not affect many lives, they will have deployed every tactical that they have to Borno State. But rather, the morale of the military has gone. Weapons continue to jam. No resources to fight back the heavily armed Fulani jihadis. And we can see why there will be more food hunger, not just in Borno State, across every part of Nigeria. Adamawa and Yobe, home to some of the 5 million people who are currently facing acute food insecurity. We can see why they continue to travel all the way down to the southwest so that they can survive at least for some time. Other areas including emerging hunger hotspot. I hope you're taking note of some of these states. The more hunger in those states, the more they want to survive. They're going to come down and do whatever they need to do in Yoruba land. Zamfara State, Katsina State, Sokoto State are also at risk. Young lives are also at risk. We have about 5.4 million children and 800,000 pregnant and breastfeeding women that face the threat of acute malnutrition. And the word malnutrition, according to the English dictionary, says, and I quote, malnutrition is a simple term, means having too little or too many nutrients, leading to health problems. Many Nigerians tonight are not eating balanced diet, and that means we're likely to lose many Yoruba children in Yoruba land should we all refuse to do exactly what Professor Akintoye has been asking us to prepare for. I hope you know the consequence. Should we not do it now, we will lose many innocent Yoruba children, and likewise across every part of Nigeria. It can be caused by deficiency, excess of imbalance of energy, protein, and other nutrients. This is malnutrition can cause. And according to the statistics that came out recently, children in Nigeria continue to be malnutrited. Let's look at it 1 hour ago. Nigeria malnourished children, the Nigerian Tribune. A very grim but accurate picture of Nigerian food security crisis was presented last week by United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, which warned that the food and nutrition crisis might deepen in Nigeria, pointing out that the country had already been flagged as having the highest number of malnourished children in Africa. Wow. And this is meant to be the giant of Africa. The giant of Africa that cannot feed its children. Are you sure it is worth calling it giant of Africa? Let's go further. And also the second highest in the world. So we are beating all the records as Nigeria remains the highest malnutrition for children in the whole of Africa. We are already contesting number 2 in the world. And I'm sure by sometime next year, we will overrun those that are number 1 and we will become number 1. The chief of nutrition at the UNICEF, NETMA, gave the warning during a media briefing. I hope Tinubu and his cronies that are traveling to London will present this during the achievement of Tinubu, that President Tinubu and Shetima failed to give millions of Nigerian children the right meal in the last 2 years. Let's quickly go back to a failed state so that we don't miss exactly the reason why we are here tonight. Once again, we are currently 1 hour into the broadcast. Those of you listening to me on the Instagram, bear with me, the phone is currently on charge. That is why the camera is turned off. Let's go back to why we say Nigeria is a failed state. And it remains so because of many factors. I have given you the full meaning of a failed state. Generally, the term failed state implies that the sovereign nation has lost the two primary ability: the ability to maintain authority over its own people and the territory, the ability to protect its own national borders. In many cases, government of failed state have lost the ability to provide basic public services, enforce law and order, protect citizens from violence, either internally or externally. In extreme instances, a failed state may experience civil war. So whenever we talk about war, do not pin it to the Yoruba nation, because United Nations says that according to the information, a failed state is likely to also prepare for civil war. Famine, we've talked about that already. Many Nigerians are now in hunger situation, or a massive displacement of people. Do you remember that we still have many indigenous people that are called Nigeria cannot live in their own home? A super chat is coming from Sonodu. British creation of Nigeria is the greatest evil ever done to mankind. Once again, what Britain has done, the creation of Nigeria is the greatest evil ever done to mankind. The wicked Lugard, Nigeria is overdue for breakup and de-amalgamation, just as it was amalgamated. Like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, is at 80% closed in English because of our target audience tonight. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, and I welcome you once again as you continue to listen to why Nigeria is a failed state, and you are not likely to revive it back to where it used to be, because it was never anywhere from the beginning. Dizzy Man 123, what achievement is that, as over 70 million, according to the World Bank, is concerned and stressed that the economy will outgrow 5 times the current place to achieve $1 trillion by 2030. Once again, Nigeria is a failed state. Failed states are often at the mercy of criminal network. Now we saw what happened with those that invested their money, I believe, in Ibadan. And we saw the collapse of close to billions or millions of dollars, not billions, that people lost because they wanted to double the money that they were so that they can become rich quickly. We can now see many Nigerians have become content creators rather than becoming a researcher, scientist, medical, and many other areas that they've studied. But since they don't have a job, they've decided to become content creators so that they can make a living from YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. When you have a failed state like Nigeria, expect criminal activities. So for those of you that continue to disregard the clarion call that the Yoruba people need to push out now, you are likely to be attacked and killed by criminals in every part of Nigeria if you're not careful, because it is still part of the failed state. So the criminals will be looking for those that still have, especially the diaspora that are bringing foreign exchange back home. Whether you return back home for a project or you're sending money home, many people now knows who lives abroad, even if you have returned home quietly and you don't want them to know. Because as you arrive in Nigeria from the airport, the criminal immigration will already alert the criminals outside that you have arrived not with a Nigerian passport, but likely with a Nigerian passport, but you still hold a British passport, as most of us have done when you travel back home. So as you're arriving in Nigeria and you think that you don't want to go back to your village, wherever you are, and you want to remain in Lagos State, have you considered that the same immigration that stamped you in has alerted somebody outside to tell you, we've seen evidence of such. Mr. Gbenga Owolabi returned back to Nigeria, had a business, had an hotel in Ogbomoso. May so rest in peace. His body was returned back to America, not alive, but as a dead person. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. The wife and the children, may God continue to bear and allow them to bear the loss of a father and uncle. Their father just said, I'm going to Nigeria to look up to my business that I've set up there. So when I talk like this, I'm not cursing you. I just hope you remember that a failed state has already created many criminals across every part of Nigeria. As you have criminals in the bank that knows how much you are transacting, even though you are not in Nigeria, I hope you remember that almost every part of the country now is a crime scene. And you are likely to be a victim, even though you pray it will not stop criminal activities. And I use this opportunity again to remind you, no Yoruba Nation rally will be called through a WhatsApp call where somebody will tell you that a code has been sent to your phone. They need that code so that they can allow you access to a meeting of a Yoruba Nation rally that is coming up. Remember, like I said, this is still part of a failed state. Some of them are Yoruba, some of them are Igbos, and some of them are not Nigerians. Criminals are much more in Nigeria now because it's a failed state and it cannot tackle. Since your police are also part of the country, since the police are also part of the criminals that have been used to create different criminal activities. So the whole part of Yoruba land today is a failed state. Criminal network. As you move away from the criminal network, you move to the bigger picture, which are terrorist organizations. Those ones are even more bloody. Like I said, 5-minute video that I watched about those that were killed. They were not just killed. Imagine a Nigerian military were tied up in their hands and legs and they were slaughtered by the Boko Haram in Borno State. Not just in the state, but right inside the military barracks. The question is, was the military barracks not well equipped to fight back, or was it allowed to be used as an ambush for the innocent military personnel? May their soul rest in peace. We told them already, but most of them told me to shut up. I hope many Yoruba that are still in the military will start thinking otherwise. This program will have just about another 15 minutes and we'll bring it to an end as there is time to sleep. Let's move it swiftly because I haven't covered much. Nigeria is a failed state, like I said, after security, governance, economic development, social tension, ethnic and religious tension. We hate each other and we are not likely to live together. If we live together in another 3-4 years, expect a civil war in Nigeria. It is better to avoid a civil war so that we can go our separate ways. But allowing the Fulani that are 6% to continue to control almost every part of the country and creating the insecurity that we have today, the tension between the Yorubas and the Igbos, the Hausas and the Yoruba, all these tensions will eventually lead to a country that will explode. Human rights. You will never have a human right because your right is no longer working in Nigeria. Argument against failed state, resilience and self-organization. Some argue that Nigeria possesses a strong anti-fragile quality, meaning it is resilient and can strive despite external shock. Don't allow such to deceive you. A lot of people can no longer take it anymore. Democracy. Britain knew that you can never have a good democracy, yet you were told multiple of lies from the previous British High Commissioner that everybody should go and vote. And I'm sure you know what that means. Your vote never counted. Despite challenges, Nigeria is a functioning democracy. You can imagine that. Lies coming again from some of those that have implemented these to deceive you that it is not working. Rome was not built in one day. We will get there until your dad and your mother die because they couldn't access the basic health care that is needed at their old age. While Nigeria faces numerous challenges, its government still retains some capacity to function, provide basic service. I can tell you, nothing of such is happening in Nigeria today. But let's go deep and know whether Nigeria is a failed state and who says so. Let's take you back to October 15 from a website, cruisenows.com/church-in-africa-2024. Bishop says Nigeria is sinking and becoming a failed state. I believe it has already sunk. It is just floating and everybody is now trying to survive. We can pull it out as Yoruba people and survive, or we are likely to die as many people died during the Titanic when it was already sinking. Those at the top deck refused to accept that Titanic was going to sink because they were told and given the guarantee that Titanic would take them to New York. Titanic never even got to half of its journey before it all went down in the cold ocean. Do not be told that Nigeria will survive. It is dying slowly, and I don't want it to die along with Nigeria. That is why I am doing everything possibly best to prepare your mind. But if you fail to understand this, you're likely to pass on in Nigeria. A Catholic bishop in Nigeria was warned the most populous African nation is becoming a failed state. My name is OLAYOMI Koiki, and I welcome you to the live transmission this evening. Bishop of Idahosa, Bishop Anthony Adiji of Ida, located in Kogi State in Nigeria, Middle Belt region, has attacked the administration of President Bola Tinubu, who has faced severe inflation and the growing cases of attack by terrorists and criminal groups. He was speaking on Sunday at Our Lady Mother of Mercy Catholic Church in Ida to Punch newspaper. The bishop said the Nigeria state is becoming a place where people can no longer trust the government. I hope this trip of Wiki to London will mention this as well. Nigeria is a nation of over 230 million people, almost evenly divided between Christians and Muslims. The Christian population is primarily in the south, while Islam dominates the north. However, the Middle Belt is where the two religions meet. Kogi is about 45% Muslim and 40% Christian. The remaining population follow traditional ethnic religion. This year, Ahmed Usman Olodo was elected the governor of the state. He is a Muslim member of the All Progressive Congress. This is also the party of the Nigerian president. If you look at the political arrangement right now, the governor is in charge of the state through a political party, he said. All the local government election results are declared with no other party winning any election, and we still call it democracy. Is that not the same thing that is happening in Oyo State, Lagos State? One party wins all the local government, and that means you cannot question the operation in those local government. And you think that is not a failed state, and you're expecting your local government to function and survive. Democracy is failing in our country called Nigeria. We cannot pretend things are getting well. It is actually getting worse every day, this bishop says. In the early August, End Bad Government's Nigeria protests, which took place and led to several deaths and multiple arrests, The protester criticized food shortage, corruption, and demand the reinstatement of gas and electricity subsidy. People are dying because of a cup of gari, the flour of cassava. Right now, in a country called Nigeria, I will recall that the former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, when he came to commission something in Abuja, said Nigeria is the most concentrated country with black intellectuals around the world. The bishop noted that the ambassador was a black American. Even in America, the black people in Nigeria has the highest intellectual, and these are Yorubas, precisely, and others. Among the black people in the world, the bishop said, in the US, over 61% of Nigerian America age 25 years old hold a bachelor degree or higher compared to 28% of the total US population, making them of the most successful immigrant groups in the country. How can such a country be gradually sinking like Titanic and becoming a failed state? We cannot pretend about that, but many of you are doing so already. We're just about 10 minutes to the end of the broadcast. Like I said, it's either we do it now or we all sink as Titanic did. Only few survived. Mostly those in the upper deck died because they refused to listen to the reality of the captain of Titanic, that Titanic was sinking. Those at the under deck knew the situation and they were scrambling. Some of them died, while few of them survived. And I believe the last person that survived Titanic already died some few years back in London. As I'm going to be leaving you tonight, is either you accept the truth and the fact that this country died a long time ago. But as you, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Ijo, continue to think that a 2027, due to all these criminal politicians, will make you to survive another 4 years, you might likely be caught up and die. We can call it a day and shut it down and demand everyone to go their separate ways without a gunshot. The Yoruba Nation Mega Rally will be announced very soon. And I hope if somebody asks you why you're coming out, you want to tell them that Nigeria is a failed state and you're likely to die even if you don't come out for rally. And I hope you understand what that means. Stop pretending. Stop living in denial. Stop calling God, because God is not as stupid as most of you. Nigeria died a long time ago, and it will be buried from the beginning of 2025 for as long as we can bury it, and then we can have the reality, the truth, and not the illusion country that Britain created that is a monster. Your land will be captured if you refuse to do what is needed to be done today. The politicians in Nigeria are not helping democracy to grow because they are not interested in democracy. So you cannot tell me that in a particular state that has been controlled by a political party, there is no local government that can choose a candidate. This is not true, because I don't believe that it is a deliberate attempt by politicians. However, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization says Nigeria has now the largest number of food insecure people globally, with a tune of about 40 million people. Don't be fooling yourself. Don't allow illusion. Don't allow those music that you listen to. These are created for entertainment purpose only. The reality on ground is that Nigeria is a failed state. The reality on ground is that many people will die, as they've done so with the terrorist attack, just as even the military barracks is no longer safe. Your governors know the truth. Seyi Makinde told us quite clearly that the terrorists were just 2 kilometers away from him. We saw the attack of a military-grade bomb in Lagos State in Idiaraba. Today, nobody's telling us anything. Your governors held a security summit in February 15. Till date, nothing has come out of it. Your king did a security summit last year. Till date, nothing has come out of it. Let us wake up from our slumber, from our sleep, and realize the truth and nothing but the truth. I understand how you feel, but remember that if Nigeria was not created, you would have been born as a Biafra in your land, and you can still come and live in Oduduwa land, but under the rules and regulation of Oduduwa country and their constitution. If there was never a Nigeria, we would all be carrying a birth certificate that truly identifies us. Britain stole our identity, and we must fight back to take it away from them. Britain continued to work quietly to maintain Nigeria unity, even though they knew that we are all different people. Awolowo said it clearly: when the right time is happened, you will have to fight for your right. The right time is now for us to fight. And when I say fight, does not literally mean using weapons. But if we come out and we attack, there will be no other option to attack back, so that we don't have to be killed before we are killed already. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, and I wish you a very good night. We'll be back again sometime tomorrow, if God's permit. From me, from my staff, from my team, I say, Odaro.